So growing up, while you already saw the video, growing up, I'm born in Delhi, and my childhood had been a little different than my friends in Delhi when we were growing up in school. Delhi becomes very hot in summer, and during summer vacation, most of my friends used to go to hill station to beat the heat of Delhi. But as a child, we used to go to see our parents filming and going to the wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. So that early exposure really gave us the sensitivity of what nature is. And it was nice for us when you go back to school, all our friends used to talk about Shimla or foreign countries, and they used to ask us, what did you do? And we said, well, we did go to national park. And they were like, what? Did you see tigers? And then they started calling us different names, calling it Jungli brothers, BEDI brothers, and shaming. Well, it's funny, but as a child, you don't want to be named and shamed at that point of a time. But we just take it as a pride and try to move on. Then it was not that easy, and I was quite an average student in study. I have no shame to believe that I was a very, very average. My mind was always thinking of going out of this class, not sitting in the class what ma'am is teaching, and then the time was that, like, what I've been doing, what I've been up to. So let me put my second slide if you can. So it was time to prove ourselves. Because of early exposure, we wanted to do something different, because it's all about conservation. There's enough film on tigers, leopards, snow leopards. So as soon as we came out from our school, we chose this subject. Anybody know which animal is this? Red panda, yes. So this took more than 4 years making this film. And just to give you an example, of 4 years, we could only sight 16 times. This animal is more endangered than even tiger. And starting my careers, my father said, why you want to do it on red pandas? Why don't you do it on tigers? People like it, and everybody wants to see tigers. They don't want to know how hard what it is. And if you're not able to make a film, then everybody will blame you. So we, brother Ajay and me, just decided, let me try and see what we can do, and if we can succeed. And if we fail, at least we tried and failed, It took a lot of time, and again, nothing was known about this species. There's only one scientific paper written by a French in captive breeding about the breeding behavior. The breeding behavior happens in very cold season, and as per the French researcher, he said that they make bird sounds, vast sound sort of a thing. And we've been looking for this kind of a breeding sound and try to see if we can film this kind of a thing. Luckily, we were able to get it. So I just want to show you a small clip about the breeding behavior, which is the first ever photographic record of the species. Let's see if it works. One more time.
Wild panda. VIJAY quickly focuses in. It looks like another male, and he does seem to be picking up a scent. Sure enough, a female soon appears. She isn't Sweetie, but she seems relaxed about our presence. The male is transfixed and makes his move. He presents himself with a telltale twitter, and a hot pursuit begins. At last, he manages to get a grip and starts to lick and groom the female. Mating lasts for up to 20 minutes, and it's much more gentle than the noisy neck-biting affairs of the cat family. Incredible! This is the first time anyone has filmed red pandas mating in the wild. we name this friendly female Dolma. After this brief interlude, she and the male will go back to their usual solitary lives. But we'll be keeping a close eye on Dolma. There's a good chance she may conceive. And if so, give birth in around 5 months' time.
So the whole idea was that thank you. So it's when you're filming tigers, much easier, or if you're filming snow leopards, there's some signs to watch, and then you can track these animals down. But for the red pandas, we were literally tracking almost 7 to 8 hours every day, and from one valley to another valley. And the whole idea of making a film is actually the point of bringing conservation back in. So what we try to do with the moving pictures or the still pictures, we try to create awareness is one way. This film got a lot of international recognition, including the Indian recognition, which gave this film a platform, not only the filmmakers, also to the red panda. And we could work with policymakers and forest department and try to conserve it. There was the chief minister then, he was really, really interested about the project, and we tried to convince him because where we were filming was really open border between Nepal and India. And as per the Nepal, it was totally barren, and he wanted, so we figured it out where was the main corridors, and he tried to put the fence in little area, and they put special couple of more patrolling guards to patrol that area. So I think so this is a small step of how your visual can be an important conservation tool to bring it in a whole. So next we moved on to a different creature, was amphibians. As you can see, they were really tiny. And I thought, if we have filmed so many stuff, it would be much easier to do this. And realizing that it will take another 3 years to make this film. No broadcaster came forward to fund this film because they realized, well, what you can do with amphibians in India. There's so much American content already available, and I don't think India can do something on amphibians. To bring, this is actual size, to bring this small creature, which is as big as a thumb, on a bigger screen was a huge challenge for us. I touch on the challenges a little later, but I just wanted to talk about the 3 heroes of a film. Next, please. Our 3 heroes in the film. So there's been a lot of discoveries of amphibians in India. The main study has been done by Britishers long time back, and only now people are coming to get more educated and more research about amphibians. You'll be surprised to know that there is thousands of researchers studying snow leopards, tigers, elephants, rhinos, but only a handful of them are studying reptiles and amphibians. So this brought us back to bringing conservation, how we can bring awareness and bring conservation back to our own India people to use the visual medium, what we do, and film. So we try to focus on 3 main heroes of our film, which is, one is called Dancing Frog. Yeah, they do dance. Well, actually, not really. They do foot flagging. They live in streams. And because the streams are getting more louder these days, I don't want to show the film, but the film will be screened tomorrow. But I just wanted to quickly talk about this because I've given a very little time to talk about conservation issues. So dancing frog, basically, the streams are getting louder. So frogs have decided to impress their females by dancing. Trust me, like human beings, when we go and dance and to impress girls, so the frogs are doing the same. But to make it more interesting, they do tap. And as a filmmaker, we wanted to make a very interesting sequence. We got a tap dancer compose a special music of them tapping and basically dancing to the tunes, and then foot flagging, basically waving their legs to impress the females. The second is Kumbara frog, which is in the middle. Kumbara in local language means potter. You'll be surprised to know that frogs can be potters too. They have evolved over the years. These are the oldest creatures living on this planet. They have been adapting ever since the dinosaur era. They have so much advanced and so much improvised on their living being is that they're actually taking the mud out from the stream and sticking onto their eggs. So the predator can't see the eggs, and they literally camouflage, and basically you can't see the eggs. So it's actually quite unique behavior, which is, again, these are done by Indian frogs. And last frog is about the purple frog. I don't know if it's about a luck or it's a coincidence. We again stuck with this kind of a species which only comes out from the ground for a single day to breed. And we were after this frog to film this breeding behavior, which took us 3 years. Trust me. And then we almost decided to change the frog character because we were running out of our own money. But eventually, we could film the whole the film, basically. Next, please. You can just do one more, please. So coming back to challenges, when you talk about frogs, as I said, with our earlier experiences, with such a good exposure from my family, I thought it will be a piece of cake, whether filming snow leopard in minus 30 degrees or wild asses in 50 degrees Celsius. I thought frog would be much easier species to film, but we never realized how hard it was. There was nothing for us to look and to learn from. Everything has to be experimental. This is, as your video said, this is first ever Indian film by Indian on amphibians. The first two challenges when you talk about frogs is light. There was no light. So we tried to invent ourselves. We tried to use a special red light, which is more sensitive to these creatures so they don't get disturbed. And once we used to track them in red light, we tried to put our own little lights and try to expose as much enough so we can film them. The second most challenge, which is a nightmare for any filmmaker or photographer, is the rain. They live in constant rain. Trust me, it's not easy to keep your cameras dry most of the time. We had given hope with the cameras. And I still remember we were filming this unique and one beautiful frog. And we took our cameras out and it was fogged. And we couldn't film. We had to wait till the time the fog goes off. And more or less, we were spending so much time in water that we were literally in waist-up water most of the time, standing in one position, waiting for this, making less movement so these frog doesn't get disturbed. And at some point of time, our skin started peeling off, and we have to get engaged with the Delhi doctors and say, we need something. We don't need anti-venom, but we need some powder or some medicines to make sure that our skin doesn't peel off. And I'm not talking about ticks and leech bites. That's something secondary. But we were really worried that when I go home, there will be only skeleton left, just the skins. Can I have the next slide, please? So why it is important? Why these kind of films more important? Around half of the amphibian population species are in decline, and third of already threatened to extinction. Next, please. Why it is important to show the complete picture? Must show the good, bad, and ugly, which we really strongly believe in. That is not about showing the pretty side always. Time has gone. There was an era where people wanted to know what tigers do, how tigers eat, how much range they have. Enough. I think so. It's a huge debate now. And as a filmmaker and photographer, I really want to show you some pictures and films which is not seen before, whether it's red panda, frogs, or some picture which is uncomfortable to watch, because that's reality. We are not living in rosy picture. The forest is not as it used to be 50 years back. The hard fact is that the wildlife is depleting and we need to do something about it. And when we say we, it's about us. We can't blame the poor. Poor is already fighting. We need to start adapting instead of fighting. The climate change is not anymore climate change, it's climate crisis. Can we go to the next, please? India lost almost 135 hectares of forest every day to big development project. This is a female deer which was run over by the cart crossing the corridor, which is behind its complete forest. And later during the postmortem, we realized she was pregnant and about to deliver a baby. Keeping the corridor safe is a major, major important. We have to protect our corridors no matter what. Please, next slide. Granite greed. I don't know how many of you are aware about this. Almost 49% of stones are exported from India. And not only exported, when you talk about our own cities, big cities, Delhi, Bombay, you go to mall, you go to houses, all granite. Where is granite coming from? It's coming from bear habitat, it's coming from tiger's habitat, it's coming from leopard's habitat. So it's a very alarming thing. You need to be aware about this thing before you even ask for these kind of stuff. We can't blame poor. We need to look within ourselves, our lifestyles. And as a photographer, as a photojournalist, as a filmmaker, I need to show you these kind of pictures for you to understand how serious these issues are. You see the mountain, if you see the topmost picture, and the mountain in the middle is the habitat. The front, the habitat is already gone. The behind will be gone soon. Next, please. This is another example not far from my place where I stay, Delhi. It's known to be had a lot of wetlands, a lot of great habitat, grassland, and also great habitat for wildlife. Not really big cats, but different kind of bird species and blackbuck. There was a good journal written by a Britisher that he hunted blackbuck in central Newton, Delhi, central Delhi basically. But now we don't have blackbirds anymore. It's shrinking away, they're going away. And the real problem is when we talk about the wetlands or whether we talk about grassland, they are known as wasteland. And government is quite big hurry to make it open to the developers, and then developer greed comes in and try to grab that land. On extreme right, if you see, that's the picture of a wetland. And in the middle, if you see, these birds are perched on the pillars. These are the pillars which real estate people have already got on the middle of the wetland. On extreme left-hand side of my left, your left, is blackback. In foreground, if you see two pillars, is actually, again, that grassland has already taken by a developer. So we need to start looking into our own greeds, which contribute to small actions which can lead to a bigger conservation. Next, please. The plan is already lost 80% of the forest cover to deforestation, where the recent report came out which says the forest cover has increased. Unfortunately, there are a lot of loopholes in that. A lot of revenue land has been increased in that. But the fact is, it doesn't matter the forest has trees or not. It needs to have the whole ecosystem. That doesn't mean if you put a tree and there's a forest. And if you just cut the forest, if you destroy the forest, or if you change a movement of an animal which use a corridor to move, which they have learned from their father and grandfathers, and which have the information has passed through generations, if you delete that information from there and put a road or put XYZ there, the problem remains the same. They won't come back. So we need to protect the habitat. And if we don't have the habitat, it's very dangerous. Can we go to the next, please? Coming back to the frog film, why it was necessary to choose lesser known animals. It has got many, many awards in India so far. It got recently a President Award, 3 national awards. Again, that kind of an award gave us a leverage to bounce back forward. The stuff which we have filmed for past 4 years, working closely with the scientist community, help us to contribute to the science. We are writing scientific paper which has never seen before by even scientists. The film reveals some of the unique behaviors which has never been recorded by the students. So that's the power of the film or a photograph as a conservation tool. The next important thing is that we are trying to declare as a state animal. We are working with the scientist Sandeep Das, who's already in Kerala studying on this species for almost 8 years. He has put a proposal to make a purple frog being a first state animal of country, not the India, but the state. And if that kind of a step has been taken and we're trying to push from our films, so the whole message is forward. So the whole idea is to work with scientific community, to researchers, policymakers, wildlife department, and come to a common platform and try to use this medium, whether it's films or video or still pictures, to spread the message across. Lastly, anybody know which tribe is this? Sorry? Bishnoi, yes. So this picture I took after a lot of convincement. They are Bishnois. This Chinkara calf was abandoned because it was killed. Her mother was killed by stray dogs. And this community adopted this Chinkara because they worship nature. They are the first conservationists of India. They worship trees, they worship animals, and to have few minutes remaining, as the note says, and I'm almost on the last slide, so good timing. So they are the first conservation. So the whole idea of this is that I am not expecting you to go and get a fancy camera and start doing something on tigers or adopt a chinkara. Basically, the whole idea is of this kind of a festival to get everybody together. That if we can talk about, we can watch films to more of have fun, get educated, and you can talk to your friend who's sitting beside you, and your friend go back to home, talk to his family, and that family can talk about to community. And the whole idea is that the awareness spread to the bigger community. I call it, we are living in Generation X. We don't need to survive on television or Netflix. We have a social media which is very strong tool for conservation. You shoot and you can film. Shoot means shoot film, not shoot animals. Shoot film, take pictures, and try to convey a strong conservation message. Lastly, I just want to end on one note. As somebody says, that camera doesn't take the pictures, the person behind it. So I really want that whatever you feel, whether there's river behind your house, whether there's lake or it's tree felling in your community, in your colony, you just need to capture it and use this tool not only for entertainment or on Facebook or Instagram to see how many likes you have, but actually to make a big cause. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.